The C-SPAN networks bring you long-form public affairs programming from the nation's capital and are a public service of your television provider. C-SPAN, created by cable.
Mr. Speaker, two Stanford students were biking one night when they noticed a half-naked woman lying motionless behind a dumpster with a male student on top of her. When they confronted the attacker, the man took off in the darkness of the night. The Good Samaritans were able to catch the coward and knock him to the ground. The woman, just 22 years of age at the time, was being raped, and the rapist was caught in the act. When the victim regained consciousness, she was on a gurney, covered with pine needles, and was bleeding. Her assailant was Brock Turner, a scholarship swimmer at Stanford. Brock was found guilty of the sexual assault on 3 counts. His sentence, a mere 6 months in prison and 3 years probation, because the judge said, quote, a prison sentence would have a severe impact on him. Well, isn't that the point? Mr. Speaker, the punishment for rape should be longer than a semester in college. The defendant's dad called it a steep price to pay for 20 minutes of action. Clearly, Brock is a chip off the old block, and Daddy will never be named Father of the Year. For many victims, Mr. Speaker, rape is a fate worse than death, and here's why. Because rape victims say after being raped, they die emotionally many times, and with homicide, one dies only once. After the sentencing, the brave victim read, Mr. Speaker, a 7,200-word document statement to her attacker, the rapist. And she said in part, I tried to push it out of my mind, but it was so heavy I didn't talk. I didn't eat. I didn't sleep. I didn't interact with anyone. I became isolated from the ones I loved the most. After I learned about the graphic details of my own sexual assault, the news article listed his swimming time, saying, by the way, he's a really good swimmer. I was the wounded antelope of the herd, completely alone, vulnerable, physically unable to fend for myself, and he chose me. During the investigation, I was plummeted with narrow, pointed questions that dissected my personal life, my love life, my past life, my family life, inane questions, accumulating trivial details to try and find an excuse for this guy who had me half naked before even bothering to ask my name. My damage was internal, unseen, and I carry it with me. You took away my worth, my privacy, my energy, my time, my safety, my intimacy, my confidence, and my voice. While you were worrying about your shattered reputation, I can't sleep alone at night. I can't sleep alone without having a light on, like a 5-year-old, because I have nightmares of being touched where I cannot wake up. I did this thing where I waited until the sun came up before I felt safe enough to even go to sleep. Mr. Speaker, I was a prosecutor and a criminal court judge in Texas for over 30 years. I met a lot of rape victims and learned how these attacks sometimes devastate their lives. This judge got it wrong. There's an archaic philosophy in some courts that sin ain't sin as long as good folk do it. In this case, the court and the defendant's father wanted a pass for the rapist because he was a big-shot swimmer. The judge should be removed. The rapist should do more time for the dastardly deed that he did that night. This arrogant defendant has appealed the sentence. I hope the appeals court does grant the appeal and make it right and overturn the pathetic sentence and give him the punishment he deserves. As a country, Mr. Speaker, we must change our mentality and make sure that people recognize sexual assault and rape for the horrible crimes that they are. As a grandfather of 11, I want to know that my granddaughters are growing up in a society that has zero tolerance for this conduct, this criminal conduct. No means no. And a woman who is unconscious does not even have the ability to consent or fight back. Victims like this remarkable woman must know that society and the justice system are on their side. Too often the focus is on defending and protecting and excusing sex offenders like Brock Turner. The entitlement mentality, being a good college athlete, and self-righteousness do not trump justice. In 6 months, when Brock Turner is out of prison, he will return to his life. But the life of the victim may never be the same. The criminal has given her a life sentence of mental pain, anguish, and turmoil. And Mr. Speaker, when rape occurs, the criminal is trying to steal the very soul of the victim. And justice demands the judge be removed. The defendant should receive more time in prison, and we, the people, the community, must support and assist the victim in all possible ways. Because, Mr. Speaker, rape is never the fault of the victim, and that's just the way it is. And I ask unanimous consent to introduce into the record the statement of the victim in this case.
Without objection.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. These are the facts. Brock Turner was found on top of an unconscious woman whose clothing he had removed. He tried to run away. The woman later found pine needles and dirt in her genitalia. This is also a fact. Brock Turner was sentenced to a mere 6 months in county jail for committing the violent crime of rape, of which Turner will probably serve 3 months. Why? Because the judge said longer sentence would have a, quote, severe impact, unquote, on Turner. A severe impact. What a travesty. All I could think of was Proverbs, which says, a righteous man falling down before the wicked is as troubled a fountain and a corrupt spring. Our justice system must become better than this. Our educational system must become better than this. People must understand that rape is one of the most violent crimes a person can commit, not, as Mr. Turner's father said, quote, 20 minutes of action, unquote. I'm working on several pieces of legislation to help survivors of sexual assault and harassment, including the HALT Act to strengthen prevention and enforcement efforts on campuses. But today, I want to honor the courage of the woman who survived Brock Turner's violent assault. Her bravery inspires me, as I hope it will inspire you. I only have time to read an excerpt, but I encourage you to read the entire statement, all 7,000 words. You don't know me, but you've been inside me, and that's why we're here today. I was found unconscious with my hair disheveled, long necklace wrapped around my neck, bra pulled out of my dress pulled off my shoulders and pulled up above my waist, that I was butt naked all the way down to my boots, legs spread apart, and had been penetrated by a foreign object by someone I did not recognize. You are guilty. 12 jurors convicted you, guilty of 3 felony counts beyond reasonable doubt. That's 12 votes per count, 36 yeses confirming guilt. That's 100% unanimous guilt. Alcohol is not an excuse. Alcohol was not the one who stripped me, fingered me, had my head dragging around the ground, with me almost fully naked. Regretting drinking is not the same as regretting sexual assault. We were both drunk. The difference is I did not take off your pants and underwear, touch you inappropriately, and run away. That's the difference. How fast Brock swims does not lessen the severity of what happened to me, and should not lessen the severity of his punishment. If a first-time offender from an underprivileged background was accused of 3 felonies and displayed no accountability for his actions other than drinking, what would the sentence be? The fact that Brock was an athlete at a private university should not be seen as an entitlement to leniency, but as an opportunity to send a message that sexual assault is against the law regardless of social class. To girls everywhere, I am with you. On nights when you feel alone, I am with you. When people doubt you or dismiss you, I am with you. I fought every day for you, so never stop fighting. I believe you. As the author Anne Lamott once wrote, lighthouses don't go running all over an island looking for boats to save. They just stand there shining. Although I can't save every boat, I hope that by speaking today, you absorbed a small amount of light, a small knowing that justice was served, a small assurance that we are getting somewhere, and a big, big knowing that you are important. Unquestionably, you are untouchable, you are beautiful, you are to be valued, respected, undeniably, every minute of every day. You are powerful, and nobody can take that away from you. I yield back.